Well, hello guys. Welcome to the second video. Sorry. So welcome to the second video. So today we're going to be talking about chapter 4 through chapter 7 of Harper Leaves to Kill a Mockingbird. Some interesting chapters. I decided to do 4 instead of 3 because chapter 4 and 5 are pretty short. So, and that way I only had to make 3 videos for this section instead of, having you guys watch all 4. So I decided to just make this one 4 instead of 3. Anyway, so what's happening within these chapters? There's a lot of shenanigans. The kids are kind of getting themselves into a little bit of predicaments. And a whole summer happens during these chapters. Scout goes from 1st grade to a summertime to 2nd grade. So time is passing pretty quickly within this book, and I think that's important to remember. Anyway, starting with chapter 4. So what happened in chapter 4? Chapter 4 is pretty short. We transition from Scout being in 1st grade until going into the summer. Dale comes back for the summer to stay with his aunt, Miss Rachel. So Dale's back in the story, which is awesome. It transitions into the summer where Dale comes back. This is when Scout walks home. She's walking home and she finds gum and the Radley's tree knot, and it's wrapped in tin foil, and she chews it. I don't know if that was a really good choice or not. Obviously she didn't get hurt, but I feel as if I would not encourage my 6-year-old niece to eat rogue gum, but alas, she does that and she gets scolded by Jem. And then this is also kind of the beginning of where the kids start this the Radley shenanigans, trying to figure out who the Radleys are, because they've only heard stories about them and never interacted really with the Radleys. So the kids have this preoccupation with the Radley family, more specifically with Boo Radley, and I think that's a pretty normal thing for kids get obsessed with stuff and then they need to find out because they have this child curiosity. But I think they also might, and you could disagree with me, I think that they also might have this preoccupation with Boo Radley because he's different or mysterious, and there's not a lot of mystery with people who subscribe to the social norms like we talked about in the last video. So just some food for thought. Okay, so moving on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is very similar to chapter 4. It's also pretty short, and the kids are also trying to figure out more about the Radley family, more specifically Boo Radley. Chapter 5 is also where we meet Miss Maudie. She lives in the neighborhood. Miss Maudie is described as giving and nice. She knows Atticus Finch's brother Jack, and Miss Maudie also is one of the only adults that we've met thus far who levels with the kids, who has conversations with the kids, and entertains their ideas that they have in their mind and kind of is insightful to the kids. So I think that she may be a positive character. I'm not sure yet. As we are moving through the novel, I'm sure she may play a bigger part, right? Anyway, so I wanted to highlight a part of this chapter where Miss Maudie is talking to the kids. It is on page 60. Let me find it real quick. On page 60, about right here where it starts with Miss Maudie. So I'm going to read that for you guys real quick. Miss Maudie stopped rocking and her voice hardened. "You are too young to understand it," she said. "Sometimes the Bible in the hand of one man is worth than a whiskey bottle in the hand of your father." I was shocked. "Atticus doesn't drink whiskey," I said. He never drunk a drop in his life. None. Yes, he did. He said he drank some one time and didn't like it." Miss Maudie laughed. "Wasn't talking about your father," she said. "But what I meant was, if Atticus Finch drank until he was drunk, he wouldn't be as hard as some men at their best. There are just some kind of men who are so busy worrying about the next world they've never learned to live in this one, and you can look down the street and see the results." I thought that was a really interesting passage. So I wonder I want to know, what does that spark in your mind? Because in my mind, I think it makes me think, the best men, right, or women, best people, I'll say, best people in the world at their worst can sometimes be better than other people who act evil at their best. I personally don't think that humans are inherently bad. I don't think that at the core of anyone is evil. And I don't know if that's exactly what she's saying either. But I think that human ideals can sometimes lead to things that are not good. So I guess you guys are smart, and I would ponder that moment, and I wonder if it's foreshadowing. Anyway, moving forward to chapter 6. Chapter 6, this is where the kids get themselves into a little bit of trouble. This is where Dill and Jem and Scout decide that they're finally gonna leave the note for the Radleys, and it kind of backfires, and they're scared, and their interactions in the Radley yard, where Mr. Radley shoots a shot. It wasn't directly at them, but shoots a shot, and it scares them. The severity of their curiosity, their inquiry, kind of gets spooked in that moment. They could have gotten hurt. They could have actually gotten hurt. Their curiosity could have actually hurt them. So with that, I wanted to say not one more. I think there's one more after this one too. So I just wanted to highlight another passage, and this is within chapter 6. It's on page 73, and it's right on the bottom. It says, I admired, right? And so this is the time when the kids are getting talked to by Atticus and Miss Rachel, and they're asking what they're doing, what the kids are doing. And Scout says, or Jem says, Jem fielded Dill's fly with his eyes shut. No, sir, just with matches. I admired my brother. Matches were dangerous, but cards were fatal. So I wonder what that means. Does that mean that cards, they'd get in really big trouble if they were playing cards? Are cards like a secular thing in Maycomb? Just some curiosity about that. So I would also highlight those moments where you're like, why would cards be fatal, right? Like, it's kind of the silly, what's maybe silly to us was very severe to them. I don't know. Just highlight those moments in your head. Moving on to chapter 7. This is when Scout starts 2nd grade, Scout starts 2nd grade in this chapter, and in this she says, she says that Miss Caroline is not doing well next door, and that she's also not learning anything at school still, and she's only learning at home, and she's frustrated because she already knows all this stuff that she's learning at school. Why does she need to learn the Dewey Decimal System? She's fine, she's a little angsty, I think. But then she this chapter also comes after Jem. Forgot to highlight this, sorry guys. So in chapter 6, at the very end, Jem goes back to the Radley house to retrieve his pants that he lost earlier in the chapter, and he comes back and he's obviously shaking. Scout says he lay down, and for a while I heard his cot trembling. Soon he was still. I did not hear him stir again. So he comes back in the middle of the night, and his cot was shaking, so it's like his bed, and so it infers that he was scared, right? And in this, Jem hasn't told her what went on at the house when he went to the Radleys, and he finally comes clean to her later in the chapter. And so on page 78, Jem is talking about his pants, and he said, when I went back, they were folded across the fence, like they were expecting me. A cross and something else. Jem's voice was flat. Show you when we get home. They'd been sewn up. Not like a lady sewed 'em, like something I tried to do, all crooked. It's almost like somebody knew you were coming back for 'em, like somebody was reading my mind, like somebody could tell what I was gonna do. Can't anybody tell what I'm gonna do lest they know me? Can they, Scout? And so he is saying that his pants were sewn and folded and waiting for him, and he was like, that's weird. How would they know I was coming back? And This was obviously not sewn by somebody who knows how to sew, like they expect women to know how to sew in the 1930s, but somebody who tried their best but doesn't know how to sew. So that was a really interesting moment, these sewed pants at the Radley household when they think that the Radleys are evil, right? And then later on in the chapter, they're kind of they go back to the knot every day in the tree at the Radley house, and they're finding things. They find twine. They find all these little gidgy gadgets in this hole. They find multiple things, and then one day when they're passing, they find these little dolls that look like Jem and Scout. Now, I don't know if you guys think that's creepy or not. I don't know. I don't know how to interpret it in my mind, so I guess that's really up to you. But they find these dolls that look exactly like them. And then when they go back to give the note to whoever is giving them these little gifts, Mr. Radley had filled the hole in the knot in the tree with cement because the tree was dying. And then when Jem asked, do you think Jem asked Atticus, which they call their father Atticus. They do not call him Dad, which I find interesting, so I would also bear that in mind. When they asked Atticus, do you think that tree's dying? Atticus said no, and at the end of the chapter, it says, it talks about how Jem had to stay outside on the porch while everyone went inside, and it said, when we went in the house, I saw he had been crying. His face was dirty in the right places, but I thought it odd that I had not heard him. So Jem had silently cried on the porch, and that's where chapter 7 ends. So with that, these 4 chapters kind of just highlight the children's curiosity about the Radley household, and also their reactions to the kind of strange things that are happening compared to their ideas of who the Radleys are. So I'm going to give you guys a list of essential questions. Again, I'll put these in the description. I know my handwriting's great, but I still want to use this visual aid. So, essential questions for chapter 4 through 7. 1, oh boy. We meet Miss Maudie. How is she different than the other adults in the novel? So how does she differ in her interactions with the kids compared to other adults in the novel? And then 2, Jem calls Scout a girl like it is an insult. Why is that? Oh, that's really not focused. So a couple times throughout the chapters, he says, "Oh, you're acting like a girl. Oh, you're really turning into a girl." And Jem is saying these stuff to Scout, and Scout's like, "Well, now I have to do it because I have to prove that I'm not a girl." So keep that idea of like being a girl as an insult in mind as we're reading this novel, and how that kind of plays within the gender roles within the book. Okay, and then question 3: what is their obsession with the Radleys? What is their obsession with the Radleys? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And then 4, how does religion play a part in these 4 chapters in the themes of the rest of the novel? So how does religion play with these ideas of curiosity and activities that happen within these 4 chapters, as well as keep this idea of religion in mind as a theme within the book? And then 5, why does Jem cry at the end of chapter 7? So why do you guys think that Jem is crying at the end of chapter 7? Does it have to do with what? Okay. So those are kind of the essential questions for today. Again, I thought I was going to make this video shorter than the last one, but alas, whoops. So at the beginning, I've decided at the end of these videos, I'm just going to give you guys the essential questions, and I'm also going to give you maybe a feel-good song recommendation, or one thing I challenge you to do today outside of your classwork. So at the beginning of this video, I was playing I'm in the Mood for Love by Louis Armstrong. I figured I might start this video with a song from the 1930s. Louis Armstrong became famous in the 1930s, and it's a really good song, and it's cute, so look it up if you want. I guess my challenge for you guys today is to make sure that you're drinking water. I know it's pretty tempting to just drink soda or sugary beverages all day. Trust me, I am a iced coffee fiend, but I think it's also important that you're staying hydrated through these times. just staying active. So yeah, that's what I have today. If you haven't filled out that Google form, I'll link it in the bio as well. God, that was such a YouTube-y thing to do. Sorry. I'll put it in this. I'll put a link in the description. Again, on that Google form, it asks you when you're free. So if you could fill it out and check every box that you are free at. So you don't have to just pick one. You can pick 4 if you'd like. And I'm really excited to continue with these videos. And I hope you guys have a great day and you're staying healthy and happy. Bye, guys.